Welcome to the Digital Marketing Mentor. I'm your host, Danny Gavin, and together with industry leaders and marketing experts, we'll explore the meeting point of mentorship and marketing. We'll discover how these connections have affected careers, marketing strategies, and lives. Now get ready to get human. Hello, everyone. I'm Danny Gavin, the host of the Digital Marketing Mentor, founder of Optidge, and marketing professor. Today, we have a very special office hours episode with Nayeli Cano, who is a client account manager at Optidge. She's calling in all the way from Mexico City, Mexico, so south of the border. And we're just so excited to have you here today, Nayeli.
Yeah, thank you, Danny. Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here.
First of all, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your educational background, and how you came to become a client account manager?
Yes, of course. I have a degree in marketing and communication, and I have been working on the digital marketing industry as a project/account manager for the past 6-7 years, almost 7 years now. I started my journey in digital marketing as a content manager. That was actually my first approach to this digital marketing world. I was still in college when I had this approach. I was about to finish my career in the last semesters. And I remember that I wanted to do something else. Like I wanted to learn something more before I graduate. And then I started looking to do, some activities or something that could add to my experience, because I didn't want it to just finish school and go out there in the professional work without being prepared. I found this nonprofit association. They are dedicated to do global social exchanges. So they receive a lot of foreign people and then assign them to a social cause related to environment and children educations and care for the elderly and stuff like that. So they basically operate as an organization, as company, and they have a lot of different departments, and you can join to one of those departments as a volunteer. But they also want to develop the leadership on young people, students, or recent graduates. You are basically working with them, but it's a volunteering, so you don't get paid or anything. But I remember that I joined to the marketing department for the social media management and content creation. And it also includes the maintenance of the website. So, I updated a lot of info and I create a lot of content to try to let the people know what this association do. That was my first approach to the digital marketing world. I remember that I also got the opportunity to run a Facebook and an Instagram campaign. Nobody told me how to do it, so it probably didn't get the best results, but that's how I learned. And I remember that I think at that moment that was exactly what I wanted. That was exactly what I needed, because I was going to use that as my playground, to just learn and maybe do some things that I wasn't so used to doing before, but that was my opportunity to learn.
Nowadays, you aren't necessarily doing as much hand-on work and you're being more of a project manager, client account manager. How important is it for someone who wants to go into that arena, actually spend time doing the things first, right? Like running Facebook campaigns, running Google Ads campaigns, actually doing the marketing. How do you see that enhancing what you do today?
I think that it's like a very, like the base of everything. If I have to be honest with you, I think that this opportunity that I have with that organization, even if it wasn't like a real work, like a real job, if you wanted to see it like that way, I can totally say, hands down, that's when I learned all the skills that I have now. I think that it's very, very important for an account manager, a project manager, to first implement the things that you are going to manage after. I remember that after I was on that organization, I had my first job in a digital marketing agency. And my very first job was on a sales account. And this is where I really get the opportunity to see that it's really important for the people to know what you are selling, what you are doing, what you are managing. Because I remember that I was, calling the clients, trying to present our credentials, to present our services to them, to find an opportunity to have a business together. But most of the clients, or even all of the clients were asking me questions like more technically related, right? That I, at that moment, I wasn't able to respond like immediately because I didn't have all the working knowledge to say, hey, this is what we do. And if you are in a call with a potential client, right, and you want to convert them into a real client and they are asking you things, you have to be able to answer these questions and to try to convert them, right? But how could you do that if you don't know, all the very details of the things, of the services that the agency offers? So I remember that I noticed that. And even though I do like, to sell things and to speak with people and try to get them to our agency and stuff like that, I remember that I reached out to my boss and I told him this. And I told him like, hey, there is like a way, like a course or something that I can take to get more knowledge on what you do and all of that. And I remember that he told me like, probably you can get involved with the account management department. They are the ones that I take in on the daily basis, the briefs and or manage them, all the projects, and maybe you can learn from them. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. Right. And that's what I did. I remember that I said, I told one to these girls, one account manager, like, hey, I really want to learn and understand what you do with the client. What is the process that you have once the sales department close the sale and that person is a client? What you do? What is next? I mean, in general, what we do as an agency, right? And I remember that she didn't taught me like a lot. It was kind of difficult for her to try to show me and tell me what they do. But I remember that I was just sitting next to her every day, listen to their calls and just checking what they do and all of that. I mean, there's a lot of things that you need to in order to be like an account manager. But one of the things that I realized is that you need to know what all the departments do. It doesn't matter if it's a design department, it doesn't matter if it's website development department, it doesn't matter what they do. You need to know because you are the main point for the client. You are that bridge between the client and the team. And you need to be prepared. That is the thing that I love the most about my role. And that was the moment when I realized that I wanted to do this, that I wanted to be an account manager, a project manager. And I remember that I told to my boss this, and he told me like, okay, that's a good idea. Maybe that's something that you can do. But for now, the account department is full and I need you to keep you on the sales. And I mean, it was so sad, right? I was like so bummed because after have this little hint of what of the account managers do, I wanted more. Like I wanted to do more, but they didn't let me do it at that time. So it was kind of sad.
Going from there, did anything else happen during that time until you came to Optidge?
After he told me like, hey, I appreciate your initiative, and this, but I need you to be on the sales team. I was like, okay, let's do that. And of course I try to get the best out of that. But as the time passed by, I have like this need to do more. And I was thinking like maybe this is not what I really want to do. Maybe be on sales team, it's not what I really want to do. So I decided to quit that job because I realized that they will never give me the opportunity to be an account manager. And then I applied to another job as an account manager role. That's where I met my first account manager director. They hired me and I started as an account manager trainee, because I didn't have like a lot of experience on this end. But I do have the willing to learn, and I was like eager to get to develop that part of me. I think that was the best decision that I could have made at that time, because that was when I really get to see what an account manager is, what you can do and what you can develop. And I think that this is a role that is very, very complete because you get involved in all the areas of an agency. You get involved also with the client, and sometimes talking with the clients, having calls with them, it's not the easiest thing in the world, Sometimes it's not like a walk in the park. It's not all always pink and pretty. And it also gave you the opportunity to develop skills and knowledge that you probably wouldn't have the opportunity to develop if you were focusing only in one area.
That's an amazing perspective when it comes to account management. It allows you to see a lot of different areas. Some people like to just focus on one. I find it with my students all the time. It's like, hey, in digital marketing, do I only have to do one thing? Do I have to do lots of things? And the beautiful thing is, in the world of digital marketing, there's so many paths one can take. Whether they just want to do SEO or do they want to be more broad and take a role like an account manager or a sales manager or something like that where they can touch a little bit of it. So with that being said, before we jump into more of project management and account management, I'm very curious to ask you. So obviously, earlier in your career, you're in Mexico. You're working with primarily. I know you worked with some companies in Europe and different things like that. But I imagine most of who you were working with were Mexican companies. But now with Optidge, you're working primarily with U.S. based companies. So how's that going? Are there any differences between the two or similarities?
Oh my God, there's a lot of difference. To be honest, I felt like the first 3 months, it was like a very, very cultural shock, but work related. And I can tell you now that the first and the most difference, the main difference that I found is the way the American people and the Mexican people negotiate things, because I feel like in Mexico, we tend to sugarcoat everything. We tend to be like, oh, Danny, can you please, if this is not a problem for you and stuff like that. And the American people are very direct. Sometimes I remember, and this happened to me like the first month, that I was kind of scared because I got mails saying things like, can you please send me the report? And I was like, okay, so what is this tone? Are they mad at me? Did I did something wrong or what? Right? But now, now I can say that is just the way the Americans people, like drive their selves, because they are more direct, super straightforward.
And I think people can learn a lot from that because, not everyone is in a situation like you where, you're working with one country, one language, moving to another. But I think we all have those times in our life where we're used to dealing with certain type of people, right? And they act in a certain way, they communicate in a certain way. But you have to remember that not everyone does, right? And therefore sometimes we have to learn how different people communicate. And just because someone might write something in a way that, seems mean, but maybe it's not, right? Maybe it's just that's the way that they communicate. And so I think it's cool. You've got an advantage where you've sort of opened up your world where ooh, there's lots of different ways that people communicate. And I'm sure that's going to help you even more, being a project manager, account manager, working with lots of different people.
Yeah, totally. Because I think that another thing that you as an account manager need to know is how to read people, right? Because when you are working with people, and I think that this is something important that I always like to mention, when you are working with people, you are working with emotional beings. We all are emotional beings. And sometimes, even if you are working, you don't know what is going on the other person's lives, right? So you don't always need to, you don't need to take things personal. Read people, even if this just by having a call with them or having a video call with them or just through mails. You need to read them and understand how you are going to approach to them. Because I can tell you, the American people, you are very straightforward, very direct, but that doesn't mean that you are not polite. That doesn't mean that you are not educated, right? And there's, like you said, a lot of different ways and how people communicate. To be honest, I think that it was hard at the beginning. It is a challenge, honestly, like a really big challenge for me, but I feel like I'm learning a lot, and I'm so thankful for having this opportunity. Like you said, I think that in the past, I have been working with companies from other parts of the world, not only Mexico. And the communication was very different too. But I feel that now that I'm like fully with Optidge and with American clients in the American team, it's just it's different, but different in a good way. And I'm so happy. I'm so happy to have this opportunity, to be honest.
Yeah, and we're so happy to have you as well. Anyone who's been behind the curtain of project management knows it involves a lot of work and especially organization. Were there any specific organizational challenges you overcame as you built up your skills in project management? Like, were you always an organized person or did you kind of have to learn it on the job?
I think that I have always been an organized person. I like to say this, but I don't know. I don't know how people will take it, but I'm kind of a control freak, right? I always like to have things in control. I always want to know what is going to happen next. I'm very organized. I am fan, like a totally fan of the to-do list, and just like a old school, I like to write down everything in my notebook to keep track of things. I mean, I do use another task tracker, digital. I think that the old school is there to stay forever. Your pen and your notebook and just write down your to-do list. But I do think that I have always been organized, even with myself, even in my life. I remember at college when we have to do something in teams, I was always the one organizing everyone. So yeah, I think that it's in my veins.
Yeah, it sounds like you're a natural. So do you feel like people who aren't organized, do you feel like they can still be a good project manager, account manager? Like, do you feel like they can learn the skills or it's really a job for people who are just more built that way?
Honestly, I think that you can develop any skills you want to, but I do believe that there are certain things, certain aspects of the personalities that will fit better than others in this role in specific. Because you need to be organized. That's something very important. But you also would like to be organized, right? Because if you are not, and there is something that maybe you can learn how to do it, maybe you can apply some techniques and stuff like that. But if you don't really like it, you will fail at the end, right? And also you will also want to have communication with people. I know that there are some people that prefer to work on their end, to alone. This role, you will never be working alone. You will always have communication with the team, with the clients, with suppliers, with other contractors, with a lot of people. So you need to have that personality, to be outgoing, to be extrovert, to be talkative, answering your question. You can develop and learn these skills, but I do believe that this role is not for everyone.
I agree. And I think the next question is going to even push it more. One key point within account management is managing clients' expectations, as well just generally communicating with clients. And obviously we've just spoken about, understanding that, different clients work in different ways. You also have to communicate client requests and notes to your team members. Are there any customer service skills that you particularly enjoy using, especially when you're communicating between the client and the team, knowing that you have to treat the client really well, but then also protect the team?
Yeah. I think that the most challenging part of my job, honestly, because you said it, you need to give the client what they want, what they need, because they are paying you for that. But also you need to protect the team. And being in the middle of that situation, sometimes it's tricky. You can do something and it can backfire with the clients or with the team. What I do in those scenarios is that and maybe you are not going to believe this, because most people always tell me no, you need to have a preference for this. But honestly, I don't. I always divide my attention and my time 50-50, because I do know that I have to protect the team, but I do know that I have to deliver results to the client as an agency, because for the client, I am the agency, right? And also for the team, because they are the team. If without them, we can deliver the results to the client. But if we don't have clients, we can have a team, right? So it's tricky, that situation. So I always try to manage the expectations 50-50 and trying to be neutral about it. What happened when I don't know, we have a client that is asking for a tricky request or a urgent request on a Friday at 4 p.m. or something like that. That's always the thing. I will say that it depends on the client and it also depends on the team. When I say that it depends on the client, that's because you as an account manager, first of all, need to know what tier the client is. If it's a tier 1 client, tier 2, tier 3, you need to know the client as a person. You need to know if you can negotiate first with them, if you can deliver that request next Monday or later. You need to know if that is something that the team can do and that it will take them 10 minutes or it will take 2 hours or it will take days, right? When that kind of situations comes, you as an account manager need to be so prepared to, first of all, negotiate with the client. You need to be aware of what the request involves, because this is something that I think is also important to mention, because sometimes you as an account manager are so involved in the ongoing work that when a request like this comes, maybe that's something that you can do even without the team, you know. But it only depends on what the request is. I will say that the first thing that I do is always negotiate with the client. When it happens that I already negotiate with them and this is something that they really, really need, then I'll look to the other way and start negotiating with the team, because it's a 4 p.m. on a Friday. And I think that something that really helps me to be able to get the team working on that request on a Friday at 4 p.m. is the relationship that you build with them during the daily basis. Because, like you said, there will be times when you can protect them, when you can avoid them to work on that request. But there will be times where you can't. You and the team need to understand that even if we try with all of strength to not work on that request, that is our work, right? And that's why we are here for, to work. I will say that, yeah, when that kind of situations present, it's just a matter of negotiating with everyone around you.
I think that's why you have to understand like relationships with people, create that relationship with your client, create your relationship with your team. It's I think the term is empathy in English, where it's like you got to feel people and feel them out and see what's going on, and then being able to kind of make that match in that situation. So I can imagine, like with all that going on, you need to have a lot of time management skills, right? In order to effectively manage the project and expectations. What are some tactics or processes that you use to make sure you don't get bogged down in like things and you manage your time properly?
Basically, what I do is that I learn how to prioritize things, how to have priorities for the day. So every day when I log in, the first thing that I do is do like a general check of what emails do I have. For example, if I send like a message to the team the day before and that they didn't ask for any reason or something, I need to check what is going on to start with the day. That's the starting line. After that, I started to prioritize the task for the day, and even if I can, the tasks for the rest of the week. And I tend to do this on Mondays, actually. But I will say like the short answer is learn to prioritize things, because there are both things that are urgent, that you can plan, because urgent doesn't always mean that you need to do it like in that exact moment. And there will be also things that are important but that are not urgent. So you need to understand how to organize those deliverables to also mark the pace to the team, because something really good about the Optidge team in general is that they don't need you to micromanage them, because they are very good at manage themselves.
So with the talking about time, it could be very easy to become a 24/7 project manager and keep your metaphorical hat on, all the time. Do you do anything to ensure that you can turn that part of your brain off and email notifications on a regular basis so that like when the workday ends, you can move on and have that balance in your life that everyone needs?
Yeah, I think it's very important to have this time off of work, because it also will allow you to be more productive the next day. And what I do is that the same as I do in the mornings, after I log out, I wrap up the day, set my priorities for the next day, set what I need to keep working and following up the next day. Once that I make sure, like totally sure, that I don't have any emails on my draft, that I don't have any urgent things to send to the clients or anything like that. To be honest, I pause all the notifications. I just go and take my dog for a walk. Most of the times we are in our homes. So I think that is very important to go out and take some fresh air. So that's what I do. That's my routine. After I log out from work, go with my dog and walk for a bit. just to clear my mind from all the things. And I wouldn't say that it's a backfire that, but sometimes when I, walking my dog and just thinking and all of that, I sometimes start thinking about things related to work because you can stop it, right? You can, I mean, you have like all these things in your mind. But I think that it's something good, and something good because sometimes when you less expect it, you get the answer to something, or you get an idea, or you get like an insight or something. So I think it's good. But what I do is that if I have those ideas in that moment, I just write it down on my cell phone real quick. And then I was like, okay, that's it. Tomorrow I will go back to this. Now I'm here with my little dog, walking in the park, getting fresh air. So yeah, think about that. Don't be here. Don't be at work right now.
Yeah, I agree with you on so many levels. Like, I get my best ideas while I'm taking a shower at night. And I always like to tell people that the tough things, the hard things of work, those are the things you need to like leave. When the day's over, you need to leave because you can't do anything about it. You have to shut it down. But the wonderful things, the things that you like, obviously you need to make time. But if you want to think about those things and you enjoy it and it helps you, then yeah, that's great. Embrace that. Don't let it overwhelm you. And I think like what you said, when that point comes in, the best thing to do is to write it down, because once you've written it down, you know it's there for the next day or the next week to get to. Then you don't have to let it take over. You can then like continue to go, do whatever you were doing. So I love that
Yeah,
idea.
I know. And I think that that's something that most people don't do, because some people is like, oh, I have that idea, I will write it down, but they never do it, right? So that will be my advice for all you. Please, when you got an idea, write it down in that moment in your cell phone notes, or send it as a message to someone you love, and the next day just go back to it.
The trick is when you're in the shower, it's a lot
Oh,
harder
yeah.
to write down, but it's okay. But you can figure it out.
I got the opportunity to work with Marvel, Disney, Marvel, the
Ooh.
movies. Yeah. And it was Marvel Latam. You can imagine it was a lot of work, but it was at the same time so exciting because, working with the entertainment industry is not always entertaining. So it was like a real challenge, but I think that I am so happy and proud that I get to be part of that project. I work with them in, if I remember correctly, there were 5 movies, and I also was involved in the all the launching campaigns for the Avengers Infinity War. So it was like a real, the huge bomb. It was huge. It was just huge. And I remember that I feel the thrill of it all, like I was so excited for the movies, and I was so excited for just launching the movie, and just for be part of the team that work on launching that campaigns when the movie came to the theaters and all of that. And yeah, I think that working with Marvel, it's one of the best things that happened to me in my career so far.
Yeah, that is so cool. I think a lot of us, especially movie fans, wish we could have an opportunity like that. Do you have a favorite Marvel character?
I do. I think that Captain Marvel, she is one of my favorites, and also Black Panther. I really love Black Panther. I mean, working with them, I had to watch all the movies in chronological order, to understand everything. And I became a real fan of the Marvel universe. But I can tell you right now that hands down, my favorite movie for Marvel is Black Panther 1. Black Panther 1.
A very special movie, especially because the lead actor did pass
Oh,
away
yeah.
at a young age. So it just enhances the power of that. But yeah, I would definitely put that as one of my favorites as well. Before we wrap up our episode, we like to do our lightning round. And because we're talking about movies, we'd love to know, what are your top 3 movies that you recommend our listeners to watch?
Okay. So I think that one of my favorite top movies, like forever and ever, it's one movie that it's called Another Earth. And it's kind of science fiction because, I mean, I'm not going to spoil nothing about the movie, but the movie is about that there is another Earth, like another Earth, like our planet Earth. There is another one out there in the space. It plants you the question that, will you go to that Earth to meet you and the people that you meet here, if you got the opportunity to do it, and if for some reason in this life, in this Earth, you do something bad or something that you are not so proud of, and you have the opportunity to go to that earth and maybe change that, will you do it? I really like that movie, and that will be my top one. I said that in top two, I will say Black Panther, but just because I'm kind of cheesy and always, what watch that movie always reminds me the time that I was working with Marvel and we will launch that movie and all of that. So my top two is Black Panther. My top three, I'm really fan of the horror movies. Yeah, the horror movies, the scary movies, and all of that. And I recently watched again, like rewatch, a movie that I really liked that it calls The Autopsy of Jane Doe. You can watch it on HBO Max. I think it's available there. And I really like that movie because it's not like the regular scary things that you know that will happen. It has like a little plot twist that you don't expect, like never. And I think it's a little plot twist, but that is what makes it like a very, very good horror movie.
I love a good plot twist. And when you add that to horror, like, man, there's nothing
I
better.
know.
So, Nayeli, what is your goal for 2023? What are your plans?
I think that related to Optidge and to work, I have a goal to be more involved on the strategy with all the clients. That is something that I really want to be part of. I don't know still how I'm going to do it. I probably need to be like more involved with all the departments, but that's something that I really want to do. And this is something funny. This is nothing related to work, but I want to learn how to do a split. Like I want to work on my flexibility. And I think that will be my main goal of this year.
That is so original. You know what? When I was a kid, I did martial arts from like 8 years old to 14. And I'm a black belt in Kung Fu, if anyone didn't know that. But yeah, like one of the hardest things for me was like when we were down on the floor and try to like reach out and touch our toes, like I could never do it. So flexibility is definitely something that I could agree with you. I don't know if I'll ever get there, but if you do, I will be very happy for you.
Yeah, well, I have a year, so.
Where can listeners learn more about you?
Well, you can follow me on LinkedIn if you want. You can find me there as Nayeli Cano. And if you want to, you can also follow me on Instagram because I am very active on there. I will say like Facebook too, but to be honest, I don't use it like as much. I think that I don't know if this is because I am millennial or what, but I'm more into Instagram than everything.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I think Instagram is definitely where it's at. I always find Facebook is more of like a personal kind of thing. But yeah, that's cool. Nayeli, thank you for being a guest on the Digital Marketing Mentor. Been wonderful to discuss account management and project management with you and your journey from Mexico to the world of digital marketing in the United States. We're so lucky to have you. Thank you, listeners, for tuning into the Digital Marketing Mentor podcast. We'll talk to you next time.
No, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Digital Marketing Mentor podcast. Be sure to check us out online at thedmmentor.com and at the DM Mentor on Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts for more marketing mentor magic. See you next time.